to the 31st Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Breakfast. Each year, we religiously gather to celebrate and remember the leadership of one of America's, and I will say the world's, right, greatest activist, advocate, and orator. It is with tremendous pride that we, the Greater Framingham Community Church, congregation, and others, welcome you as members of the Metro West community to this wonderful breakfast. Thank you. Give yourselves a hand for starters. Thank you. Dr. King once said, and I'm paraphrasing here, okay, that life's most persistent and urgent question is, what are you going to do for others? You remember that? What are you going to do for others? In light of the challenges, the many challenges that we face today, your presence here is public affirmation that you are, in fact, doing something for others. It is affirmation of your commitment to family, to brotherhood, to sisterhood, and community. We sure hope that this morning you will be able to relive the words and the spirit of the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King and leave renewed for the work that is yet to be done, and that you will go out of this place, as Reverend Lord often say, you will go out of this place and do everything you can to contribute to the cause. That is the hope. We are all probably praying and hoping for peace today. You get it? Peace today. And I hope we're all using justice as one of our barometers to reinforce the legacy that Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King left us with. That legacy is embodied in one of what is not often cited, but one of my most favorite quotes that he made. And it is, true peace is not merely the absence of tension, it is the presence of justice. Okay? Wasn't he brilliant? Just simply brilliant, way ahead of his time. So, in the year 1900, there was a man by the name of James Weldon Johnson, who was a school principal in Jacksonville, Florida, who was asked to speak at the Abraham Lincoln birthday celebration. But instead of speaking, he decided to write a poem. With time running short, plans changed again and again, so James asked his brother, who was a music teacher named J. Rosamond Johnson, to help him out and write a song because he couldn't get the poem thing going. So his brother wrote a song. And written in the days of the Jim Crow South, the song inspired African Americans to persist in their struggle for equal rights. So during the 1920s, the song became a popular selection for church choirs and was being pasted into the backs of hymnals and has become known as what? The Negro anthem. Right. Now this tradition continues today. So this is how we begin our festivities. We all stand up and we sing this song. So I'd love for you to stand and give a rousing rendition of the National Negro Anthem. So at this time, if you can, our wonderful pianist, thank you so much. Nobody told me your name, but Timothy Smith is going to be playing the piano. And Christina, where's Christina Vaughn? Oh, she's right behind me. God bless you. Thank you, Christina. Is going to lead us in this wonderful anthem. And for those of you who do not remember the words, look in your program. They are there. Aren't they there, Ramel? Okay. Thank you so much.
Lift up
Thank you very much. You may be seated. I'm introducing the MC. That's Jessie St. Cyr. Okay, Jessie is the daughter of Haitian immigrants, and unlike somebody else I know, Haitian, okay, is a culturally rich country, okay? Thank you very much. Wow, got that out, Reverend Lord. I'm okay now. And she's a native of Massachusetts. She's a human resources leader and employment attorney who has leveraged her legal background and broad experience to position employers to meet current and future business needs. She achieves this through thoughtful, and I know this, thoughtful workforce strategies that help drive business improvements while effectively managing and mitigating associated risk. Ms. St. Cyr joined Governor Baker's administration in July 2015, I must say, after the Patrick administration previous to that, with where we worked together, okay? Oh yeah, I just got to get that in. She's serving as the Chief Administrative Officer for the Massachusetts Department of Transportation, known as MassDOT, and Assistant Secretary of Human Resources for the MassDOT and the MBTA. She has been a key contributor to the transportation transformation agenda, moving workforce policies and practices to industry standards. Most notably, Jessie helped lead an effort to right-size the MBTA workforce, which is tough work, which reduced its operating deficit by over $50 million. That's your tax dollars, by the way, folks. $50 million. She was the architect of a comprehensive absence management program that has helped reduce absence-related overtime costs by over 20%. Ms. St. Cyr oversaw the successful transition of nearly 500 toll workers for the introduction and implementation of the award-winning all-electronic tolling AET program. So in other words, what all that means is that those people just didn't go away. She helped find them jobs, okay? She has worked with Registry of Motor Vehicles leadership to improve customer service and to reduce wait times. Yay! Because I recently had to have my license renewed, and I'm telling you, the queuing system works. Thank you very much. Better than Disney's, by the way. Thank you. Through development and implementation of a multi-year strategic plan focusing on people first, Jessie is leading enhanced talent acquisition and professional development programs to both attract high-caliber talent and invest in the organization's most important assets, its employees. This effort partners with business leaders to position the workforce to meet business goals and ensure it can successfully deliver transportation services to the Commonwealth, both now and in the future. Before joining MassDOT MBTA, Jessie had served as Deputy Treasurer under former State Treasurer Steve Grossman. In her capacity there, Jessie increased the number of diverse hires by over 30%, and I witnessed that. She helped lead a diversity and community outreach council which partnered with community and business leaders to help address financial and resource disparities in minority communities. Among other recognitions, these efforts received the Boston Business Journal Workforce Diversity Award for Jessie. She also oversaw a fund that provided nearly $280,000 in loan repayment grants to science, technology, engineering, and math, the STEM graduates, to help them retain promising talent in Massachusetts. Prior to her state government experience, Jessie worked in various industries, serving in compliance, legal, and human resource roles. She began her human resource career at the Federal Reserve Bank of Boston. Ms. St. Cyr follows proudly in her parents' legacy of community engagement. She has served on Gordon College Career Advisory Board, the President's Advisory Council, and was recently awarded Gordon's Young Alumnus Award for her masterful application of administrative knowledge to policy sectors in 2017. Jessie also serves as on the board of directors of the Freedom House in Boston, which works to remove barriers to education by providing learning and college preparatory opportunities to students where she helps oversee the Boston Diaconate Body. Ms. St. Cyr earned her Juris Doctor from the Thurgood Marshall School of Law at the Texas Southern University in Houston, Texas. We'll forgive her for that. She's a member of the Massachusetts Bar. Ms. St. Cyr resides on the South Shore, and I asked her, just tell me, because you know I know a lot about her, but I said, tell me one thing I can share with the group that wouldn't be written in the program. She likes to sleep whenever she can. That's Jessie. Welcome, Jessie.
Thank you so much for that wonderful introduction, Barbara. Good morning, everyone. I want to welcome all of the elected officials, members of the clergy, residents of Framingham and the state of the Commonwealth, and anyone who came from outside of town. Welcome to the 31st annual Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Memorial Breakfast. It's wonderful to be alive and to be here in celebration of Dr. King's vision and dream. I want to first thank Reverend Dr. J. Anthony Lloyd, who we so affectionately refer to as J. Anthony. I met him almost 20 years ago at Gordon College. Anyone who knows him knows that he has an infectious joy for life and love for people. So when he asked me to do this, of course, I had to say yes. So thank you so much for extending that invitation. And I also want to thank Romel for coordinating all of this, and thank you for your hard work. So again, it's just wonderful to be alive and to be here to celebrate Dr. King's vision. Dr. King was a believer in Jesus Christ, a believer in people, a believer in love. He was a man of faith who not only loved God, but loved people in their current state. Now that's a difficult thing to do, especially because people are messy. Think about it. Back in 1963, for him to love people in their current state at that time, and to also be able to deliver a speech like "I Have a Dream" was a difficult thing. But he saw past the current state of people. He saw past the segregation at a time where you would never find a room so filled with such beautiful diversity. It required a great deal of faith that things would change, that one day his children would live in a nation where they would not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. Could you imagine where we would be if he and so many other activists could not see beyond their present condition, beyond their struggles, beyond the hatred, beyond the discriminations, and the struggles that they had in 1963? Could you imagine if he did not see beyond the current state of the people in 1963 to hope and believe for a better future? And yes, some of the issues they faced then and struggled with around color and ethnicity are some of the same challenges or similar challenges that we see today and experience today. Particularly in this current climate and after the horrendous statements that were made by, I will not refer to the name.
All right.
But the fight must go on. And we must be able to believe that every single human being has the right, the God-given right, to enjoy the basic and fundamental rights endowed by our Creator and no one else. And people may still judge us based on the color of our skin. And yes, we continue to experience systemic and institutional racism. And yes, we even seem to be regressing. But like Dr. King, I am hopeful and have decided to stick with love. Because as he said, hate is too great a burden to bear. As we go through the program today, let's think about and do the most difficult thing. Let's love, because love is an action. So let's love as we vote, as we work together across various lines to fight injustice, as we advocate for the disenfranchised, as we protest, yes, as we protest, and as we denounce every vile and disgusting statement and act we experience. Let's love because hate is too great a burden to bear. Let's love as we act because love can reach where the laws cannot. Yeah. You can't legislate the condition of the heart. Love can change the mind where words cannot, and love can transform where many actions cannot. So as Rabbi Sharon Sobel from Temple Beth Am comes to deliver the invocation, let us be prayerful and mindful that when we are met with hate, we respond with strength, conviction, and with love.
As we gather this morning as a community to commemorate the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., we remind ourselves that this is a moment to both recognize those whose pursuit of justice and freedom paved the path we walk today. And we ask for courage and strength as we journey forward on the road towards redemption and liberation. Many among us experience both privilege and comfort, yet our experiences remind us that not all are free. So today, we shake ourselves from complacency and affirm our pursuit of justice, as Dr. King taught, injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. We are caught in an inescapable network of mutuality tied in a single garment of destiny. Whatever affects one directly affects all indirectly. And Dr. King's words go hand in hand with what my Jewish tradition teaches. In a place where there is no humanity, strive to be human. So on this morning we pray, help us, O God, to see, to hear, and to know the injustices that keep us from redemption, that keep us from being whole, that keep us from being complete. Enable us to hear the voices of others when they are in pain, when they are oppressed, when they are feeling hurt or burdened. Grant us wisdom and compassion to eradicate the evil that exists in our community, to eradicate the experience of the captive so that everyone is free. Give us courage, energy, and humility to embrace those among us who are too easily labeled as other. Give us the power to do our part to bring these words to fruition. Let violence be gone. Let the day come soon when evil shall give way to goodness, when war shall be forgotten, hunger be no more, and all at last shall live in freedom. For it is you, O God, who commands us in the book of Deuteronomy, Tzedek, tzedek tirdof, justice, justice shall you pursue. And then, when we all hearken to these words, we know that justice will roll down like waters, and righteousness like a mighty stream. And each one of us will be able to sit down with all of our brothers and sisters, regardless of race, religion, ethnicity, sexual orientation, or gender, in friendship and peace, to partake of the bread of freedom, the bread of friendship, and praise and thank you, O God, who gives us the courage to work hand in hand to bring justice and peace to our world. Thank you, O God, for the food we are about to eat, for the bread we are about to break together, the God who knows no boundaries, as we say together, Amen.
And now we'll have the wonderful Reverend Dr. J. Anthony Lloyd.
And good morning. What a great, great, great morning it has been already. It is a great privilege and honor this morning to introduce to this breakfast, for the very first time, the new mayor for the city of Framingham. Indeed, yes indeed, no doubt about it. What a great day this is. It is a historic day that the city of Framingham became a city, a historic moment that indeed the people of Framingham decided to go to the polls and choose to elect Dr. DeVaughn M. Spicer. She is the newly elected mayor of the city of Framingham. She comes, yes indeed, having been and is the first African-American mayor in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts that has been selected by the popular vote of the people. As her campaign said, she is a people's mayor. And I'm sure many of you have had an opportunity to meet her. She knows how very, very proud I am of her. She ran a wonderful campaign. She is already on duty, working hard. Her task to lead the people of Framingham in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, and she cannot do it alone. She needs all of us in this room and many more who believe that in these times that we live in, we can contribute to society, make a difference, work to make that dream of Dr. King to become a reality for everybody. And as I've been saying, Dr. Spicer, every time someone asks me, says, oh, well, the mayor, and my response is, look, she's up to the task to get the job done. Dr. DeVaughn M. Spicer, Mayor of the City of Framingham, we welcome you.
Wow, after that introduction, I don't know if I have any more words, but first and foremost, good morning, and glad to see you all, glad that you took the time out of your day to spend with us this morning to celebrate, to remember an amazing man. I sometimes think about history and where we are, and if you kind of reflect, this year marks almost 50 years of Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King's passing. I take that back, assassination. Yes. He was taken very soon, too soon, from his family and from the rest of us. But he has left an indelible impression on me and many that have come before him. So I keep that in mind. I bring you greetings from our 14-day city of Framingham. And we're proud of all 14 of those days. And I just also want to acknowledge that our representatives in the room, and that Jack Patrick Lewis is in the room. Jack, wave one more time. And Representative Chris Walsh is here. The one thing that I can honestly say, and also, I'm sorry, school committee members. Adam Freuberg is in the back. I see Beverly Hugo. And I do see Councilman Adam Steiner, one of my former babies. Yes, he is one of my former students. And did I miss? Oh, there. Gloria Pascal is over in the corner representing school committee too. And one more. Oh my goodness, there is Noval Alexander is in the back too, representing school committee. Did I miss anyone? Good, I can move. I bring you greetings from our city today, but I also bring you hope because it's almost 50 years. And then for some, it does feel like we've turned the hands of time. We've gone backwards. But I also am reminded by a quote from Dr. King. The time is always right to do what is right. And I admonish each and every one of you, when you see injustice, stand up and speak out. Because sometimes it's very difficult being the one that the injustice is incurring to. It takes those outside of the group to make sure that the rights are upright, as opposed to walk by, as opposed to turn a blind eye or be silent. And you know what doesn't help? When we do it outside of the mainstream. Oh girl, I'm with you. Be with me in the room. Make the noise in the room. You can't be with me and not make noise. I've made a little noise around this state so far. But the good news is the noise that I'm making, it's about my city. My city of Framingham, I'm very proud of this community. They showed up and showed out in November. They told me loud and clear that they wanted Spicer to come on and lead the way. And I'm going to do my very best in Framingham. And thus far, as I have consistently said, I am the people's mayor, the mayor of everyone. And everyone's voice is important to me. It doesn't matter what job you have. It doesn't matter what country you came from. We all are in the same boat, on the same ship, and moving it forward. And so that's important to me as the mayor of Framingham. No matter what we do, everyone's voice is going to be included. And I will lead with integrity, with honesty, and to make sure that I'm an example for our young men and women that are watching all of us. Yes. They're watching us. And I'm going to do my very best to be the best mayor Framingham could possibly ever want and to set the foundation that we will move forward. So good morning and thank you.
So I met Dr. Spicer, Mayor Spicer, a few years ago through former treasurer Steve Grossman. She served on the board of a financial literacy and education program fund, and she is a passionate, she is an informed leader. She is funny as all get out. Oh my goodness. And she is very serious about the work ahead, so I wish you the best success as mayor of Framingham. We know you will do exceedingly well. Let's give her another round of applause. So before I introduce the speaker for this breakfast, I want to bring up Christina Blake. So Christina is a senior at Dana Hall and looking forward to college in the fall. At the age of 17, she published her first book, Sapphire and Planet Zero. It sounds really interesting, so I want to read it. She published that book last August. It will be made available this spring. Christina is the daughter of Karen and Virgil Blake and is a member of Greater Framingham Community Church. So let's welcome her with a warm applause.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
And thank you, Reverend Dr. J. Anthony Lloyd, for giving me this opportunity to share my story. Faith is taking the first step even when you don't see the whole staircase. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. It takes faith and courage to not only have a dream, but to act on it. Martin Luther King Jr. was an American Baptist minister and activist who was by far the most visible spokesperson and leader in the civil rights movement. He is most known for his I Have a Dream speech during the March on Washington for Jobs and Freedom on August 28, 1963. In his speech, he called for an end to racism. He said, "Whatever your life's work is, do it well. A man should do his job so well that the living, the dead, and the unborn could do it no better." Inspired by Martin Luther King Jr., at the age of 12, I was determined to work hard on sharing my thoughts on paper for the world to read. My book, Sapphire Plant Zero, is a young adult fantasy about a biracial 16-year-old girl chosen to save the world from darkness. Although I met many challenges and trials, I didn't stop until my dream became a reality. Similar to Martin Luther King Jr., I persevered through the struggles because sometimes when it seems like things are falling apart, they may actually be falling into place. My motto is, if it doesn't challenge you, it won't change you.
Wow.
As I faced these storms, my faith and relationship with the Lord grew as I learned to trust Him. Martin Luther King Jr. is an inspiration for us all to follow our dreams and pursue them with our whole soul. This past summer, Sapphire Plant Zero was published. My book wouldn't have even seen the light of day if it weren't for this incredible, thought-provoking man. During his I Have a Dream speech, Martin Luther King Jr. shared his dream of a world where one is not judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. Racism is certainly not over. It still lives beneath the surface. However, we have made significant progress in society since the Civil Rights Movement. I am here today, a person of color, an author published at the age of 17, and would like to say thank you, Martin Luther King Jr., for paving the way to make my dream a reality. The most important takeaway from my experience in the journey to my book's publication is that a goal without a plan is just a wish. My future goals are to continue writing novels and have a book signing in the future. Sapphire Plant Zero was just the beginning. I have so many ideas about Sapphire's adventures and other novels and cannot wait to share them. It is so important for us to all to support each other as a community in the world that we live in today. I would like to use my gift to help others follow their dreams. Martin Luther King Jr. paved the way for us, and it's up to us to pave the way for the next generation. I have begun to mentor young writers on the journey to getting their book published by sharing my experience. I had so many people help me along the way to get my book published, including Carrie Johnson, who is an author and member of Greater Framingham Community Church. Along with reviewing my manuscript, she gave me motivation to never give up. Rachel Manley, who was the daughter of the late Prime Minister of Jamaica, Michael Manley, also had a huge impact on my writing career, helping me to connect with other writers who reviewed my manuscript. I did not go through this process alone. Whatever your talent or expertise is, don't be afraid to share it. It might change that person's life. Thank you.
Isn't that something? Wow. And the beautiful thing is that she owns who she is. Wow, that's beautiful. Congratulations. Go out and support her and buy her book, Sapphire and Planet Zero, when it comes out again in the spring. Congratulations. Where your parents are, must be proud. Oh my goodness, wow. Now it is my honor to introduce our speaker, Reverend Dr. Robert A.F. Turner. Reverend Dr. Turner is a dynamic, transformational communicator and a strategic problem-solving leader. He is also a gifted preacher, pastor, community leader, change agent, and board-certified coach with 35 years of professional experience. Since 2013, he has led over 1,000 coaching sessions. That is a lot. I'm tired for you. And he has helped hundreds of leaders, couples, and individuals to experience healthy relationships, live with confidence, and maximize their potential. His passion lies in bringing out the best in people and organizations, helping successful leaders, couples, and individuals realize personal and professional significance and achieve extraordinary results. Reverend Turner began preaching at the tender age of 16, and since 1993 has provided visionary leadership as senior pastor of St. John Baptist Church in Columbia, Maryland. Under his influence and direction, the church has grown from a small congregation of 400 members and $190,000 annual budget to a dynamic congregation of nearly 2,000 members and a budget of $2.2 million. With an exceptional team of leaders, he led a successful capital campaign in 2009 to build a $10 million, 30,000 square foot church. Congratulations on that success. This has enabled him to expand their outreach and social justice initiatives both locally and around the world. As a community leader and strategic problem solver, Reverend Turner serves as an advisor to many elected officials. He continues to provide a valued, faith-based perspective as a commissioner on the Human Rights Commission of Howard County, a clergy team member for People Acting Together in Howard, or PATH, and a board member for the Columbia Downtown Housing Corporation, the Columbia Housing Center, and the Community Action Council. Reverend Turner holds a Bachelor of Science degree in Political Science from Boston University, a Master of Divinity degree from Gordon Conwell Theological Seminary, and a Doctor of Ministry degree from New York Theological Seminary with a concentration in church-based community development. Reverend Turner's passion as a distance runner and marathoner, how do you even find the time? I'm just like, how do you find the time? Oh my. Reverend Turner's passion as a distance runner and marathoner is also evidence of his understanding and appreciation for commitment. He has been happily married for over 19 years to Dr. Kimberly Moran Turner, an OBGYN physician. Together they are raising two high-achieving teenagers who excel academically, athletically, and artistically. You may read his full bio in your program materials, but before he comes up, we will have Christina Vaughn once again in a beautiful selection.
Thank you. This piece I'd like to share with you is a spiritual. And as we know, the struggles that Dr. King fought for, he represented all of our African American sisters and brothers and all of our African American ancestors. And one of the original forms of expression for our African American brothers and sisters were the spirituals. And as such, I hope you enjoy this. There is a name I love to hear. It soothes my doubts and it calms my fears as I journey to and fro. I'll take the name where'er I go. not be heard. Yes, death's pains I'll gladly bear, for I shall breathe his name in prayer. I love the name Jesus. Every day the same, the same, the same Jesus. Oh, how sweet is the precious name. Jesus.
I just want to share my appreciation both with Christina, DeVaughn for using the wonderful gift that has been given to us to both inspire us and remind us that there is a name that's above every name.
Amen.
And that name is Jesus. We thank God today for this occasion. We thank God today for this opportunity to celebrate the life, the lessons, the legacy of a great man who was not just concerned about himself, who was not self-absorbed with doing things just to get ahead, but a man who was concerned about those who were lost, those who were looked over, those who were the least among us, those who were not afforded the same opportunities as others. And so we are saddened by his all too sudden loss 50 years ago, but we're so thankful for what his life represented and the significance of his movement. Let's give God some praise for a great man. We are also so appreciative for all of the change agents in the room, for those who are serving as representatives, those who are serving on school committees, those who are councilmen. And then we are so grateful to God to have the opportunity to sit at the same table as the newly elected people's mayor of the city of Framingham, Dr. DeVaughn. I can go home and tell my children and wife that I got to sit at the VIP table. And what an honor it has been to share this day with her and with all of you. And then to my great friend, but before I share a word about my great friend, I have to share something about a young lady who has impressed me, Sister Christina Blake, Senior. Where's Christina? There she is.
such a gifted young lady. Then to my great friend over the decades, pastor of the greater Framingham Community Church, Reverend Dr. J. Anthony Lloyd. We thank God for him. We thank God for his pastoral leadership. We thank God for his community advocacy. We thank God for his ability to bring people together. Let's give God some praise. Now, I grew up, I'm originally from Pensacola, Florida, and that's where I was born. My father was in the Navy. However, while I'm from Pensacola, Florida, I really wasn't there long enough to really know anything about Pensacola because my father, he was deployed to another naval base before I was born, and my mother, who was pregnant with me, was given instructions by her physician not to leave the city until I was born. And so right after I came into the world, we left Pensacola, so I've never been back, don't know a thing about it. But while I don't remember anything about Pensacola, I believe that God placed in me at a very early age an appreciation for warm weather. Growing up in New England, every winter time I prayed for, I looked forward to the springtime, and that same sentiment that existed back then exists right now. I am looking forward to the springtime. And to let you know, I really forgot how cold it gets. I came up here with just a trench coat. And when I got off the plane and came out of the airport, I had no idea that the plane dropped me off in Alaska, not in Massachusetts. What is really exciting is how God counterbalances things. Because while I have not appreciated the cold at all, I have appreciated the warmth through relationships here in Framingham. I've appreciated the warmth of your love, the warmth of your friendship, the warmth of the relationships, the warmth in how you have received me in this your fair city. And so for that, I am deeply grateful as well as appreciative. Now, as I have been experiencing this breakfast and appreciate the wonderful food that has been prepared, I guess my assessment of today is that there is a sweet, sweet spirit in this place. And the sweet, sweet spirit in this place has attracted a swarm of bees. I'm not talking about bumblebees. I'm not talking about doobies. I'm not even talking about wannabes. I'm talking about what we used to be.
All right.
As we gather here today, I'm reminded of what we used to be. I was talking to your pastor and how several decades ago this breakfast started in the basement of Greater Framingham Community Church. And as we celebrate this, your 31st anniversary of having this breakfast, we're reminded of what we used to be. But not only do I see used to be flying around in this place, I also see flying around what we can be. I'm not limited by what we used to be, but I can envision what we can be. When I hear a gifted young lady who published her book as a teenager, I'm excited about what we can be. When I see Framingham electing its first African-American people's mayor in this city, I'm excited about what we can be. But in order for us to be what we can be, there are some things that we must be.
Yeah.
One of the things that we must be is we must be committed. Another thing that we must be is we must be compassionate. And another thing that we must be is we cannot be content until racism is eradicated and prejudice becomes a thing of the past. And so on this King holiday, on this Dr. Martin Luther King's birthday, I just want to take a few minutes to hang these words as our topic for today. What it takes to be a dreamer. What it takes to be a dreamer. Framingham, whenever you mention the name Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., you soon discover that he was different things to different people. Because to his children, he was a playful parent. To his spouse, Coretta, he was a loving marital partner. To his church, he was a dynamic preacher and pastor. To academic circles, he was a scholarly writer. To those who were marginalized in society, he was a strategic civil rights leader. To the world who appreciated his approach to fighting for civil rights, he was a Nobel Peace Prize winner. To those who were treated unjustly, he was a marcher and a community organizer. To those who heard him speak, he was a spellbinding orator. But when I think of the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., the first thing that comes to my mind is dreamer. Because during a time when black people couldn't go certain places, during a time when black people couldn't work certain jobs, during a time when black people couldn't live in certain neighborhoods, during a time when black people couldn't go to certain schools, on a hot summer in August of 1963, Dr. King stood on the steps of the Lincoln Memorial before a live audience of over 200,000 people and a television audience of multiple millions. And Dr. King dreamed out loud and declared, "I have a dream." He declared that I have a dream about equality for all people. I have a dream about brotherhood among people. I have a dream about freedom and justice for all of God's people. He declared that I have a dream. I have a dream where his children and all children can grow up and not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. Dr. King had a dream. And as we come today, as we gather today to celebrate the birth of Dr. King, as we gather today to celebrate the life of Dr. King, as we gather today to celebrate the legacy of Dr. King, we have several options as we gather today. First, we could revisit the socioeconomic circumstances that gave rise to his dream. Or we could pull out the scorecard and check off how many of his dreams have been actually realized since then. Or we could enter into a discussion about how many gains that have been made since then are teeter-tottering in the balance and are on the verge of being washed away. Or we might even take the time to just plain praise this man. But I've come today with a different idea. I've come today with a different agenda, because what we need in 2018 is not so much to praise King, but what we need to do today is to raise up more kings. We need to raise up more dreamers. And it's not that Dr. King is not praiseworthy, because he is and he was. It's not that his name ought not to reverberate through the halls of history, because it must and it should. But if this world is going to change, if we're going to end racism, if we're going to end discrimination, if we're going to end poverty in America, if we're going to experience peace in this world, if we want this world to change for the better, it won't happen if we simply have a king holiday and celebrate his legacy. But what we need to do is to look to some of our reluctant leaders and to some of our passive prophets and say, in the name of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., in the name of what's right, let's look beyond how things are right now and dream about what this world has the potential to be. Now, before I continue, when I say Dr. King had a dream, I want to make sure that you understand what I mean when I say he had a dream. Because there are some things that are going on in our country today. There are some things that are going on in the United States of America that I wish was a dream. Because I wish I was dreaming. When I hear racist statements coming out of the mouth of the one who occupies 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, I wish I was dreaming. When I see how polarized our government is in D.C., I wish I was dreaming. When I see kids killing kids, when I see teenagers having babies, when I see our streets flowing with drugs, when I see women doing equal work but not getting equal pay, when I see women being discriminated against and being disrespected by women, and men not being held accountable for their actions, I wish I was dreaming. I wish I was dreaming when I see corporate greed on Wall Street and people losing their homes and losing their jobs on Main Street. But since I'm not dreaming, if we're going to turn this thing around in this country, if we're going to turn this thing around in our community, if we're going to turn this thing around for our families, we're going to need more dreamers who are not limited by what they see, but they can imagine what they can see, because there is no limit to what God can do. And please know that everybody who lays down at night and see visions in their sleep is not doing what I'm talking about. Because the dream that I'm talking about, you don't just do while you're laying in bed asleep. But I'm talking about people who dream while their eyes are wide open and while they're wide awake. And what makes dreamers stand out? What makes dreams so powerful? What makes a dreamer such a blessing is that dreamers can stand on the shoulders of today and see tomorrow as if it was today. Dreamers can imagine what can be as if it already is. Dreamers don't see us as we are, but dreamers see us as we should be and as we shall be by the grace and the power of God. Is there anybody here who came to celebrate the fact that Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. had a dream? Because if Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. didn't have a dream, We wouldn't be sitting where we're sitting right now. If Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. didn't have a dream, we wouldn't be working while we're working right now. If Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. didn't have a dream, we wouldn't be celebrating the fact that we have the first African American mayor in the city of Framingham. If Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. didn't have a dream, we wouldn't be doing what we're doing right now. So we ought to celebrate the fact every chance we get to celebrate that Dr. King had a dream. And in 2018, here's our challenge. In 2018, our challenge is that we have to find a way, not just the mayor, not just the pastor, not just the representatives, not just the school committee members, but we together, not just black folk, not just white folk, not just Brazilians, not just Asians, not just Hispanics, but we collectively, we have to find a way. We have to find a way to raise up more dreamers. And once we identify them, we have to encourage them to be receptive to what they say. We don't just have to find them, but we have to encourage them to be receptive to what they say. Because you can't pass on a dream to a person who's not receptive to seeing it. And that's what made Dr. King such a great dreamer. That's what made Dr. King such a dynamic dreamer, because he was receptive to what God wanted to do in his life. And here's the kind of people who are receptive to seeing dreams. Here's what makes a person able to receive what God has placed in their spirit. If you want to be receptive to seeing the dream that God has given you, you first have to be faithful. You have to be faithful. And faithful folk are the kind of folk who don't just do what they say, but they say what they're going to do. I'm talking about the kind of folk that you can depend on. I'm talking about the kind of folk that you can rely on. I'm talking about the kind of folk who you can count on. I'm talking about the kind of folk who don't just say one thing when they're on their campaign and do another thing once they're elected. I'm talking about faithful folk. But not only do you need to be faithful, you also need to be available. You also need to be available, and available folk are the kind of people who take the time to think about somebody else. They take the time to listen to somebody else. They take the time to help somebody else. I'm talking about available people. But not only do you need to be faithful, not only do you need to be available, you also need to be teachable. Now, these are people who recognize that despite their IQ, these are people who recognize that despite where they went to school, these are people who recognize that they may have more degrees after their name than a thermostat has on the wall. These are people who recognize that while they may be educated and while they might be intelligent, they don't try to act like they know everything. But every day they take the time to learn something new. Now I don't know about Massachusetts. I haven't been here for several decades. But in Maryland, where I live, there are some people who think they know everything. I mean, they know the answer before you've had a chance to ask the question. I mean, they act like they know everything. Now, I'm not saying that you shouldn't be intelligent. I'm not saying that you shouldn't be educated, but I am saying that nobody knows everything about everything. So you've got to be teachable enough to learn something new to help somebody else. And so if you're going to be a dreamer like Dr. King, when God gives you a dream, you've got to be receptive to seeing it. But not only do you need to be receptive to seeing it, if you're going to be a dreamer like Dr. King, after you're receptive to seeing it, the next thing you've got to do is you've got to have the courage to say it. Not only do you need to be receptive to seeing it, but you've got to have the courage to say it. See, when you have a dream and you don't say it, you're like a mailman who goes to the local neighborhood post office, gets his bag full of mail and goes home, and instead of coming to your house and giving the mail, he goes to his house and takes your mail and throws it in the trash and then comes back to the post office 8 hours later, only to say, I'm finished for the day. Well, just as if you didn't deliver your mail and you're not finished, the same thing is true if you didn't deliver your dream. Because when God gives you a dream, you don't own the dream, you're supposed to carry the dream. And you don't have the right not to deliver the dream, just as the mailman doesn't have the right not to deliver the mail. Because people's bills are in that mail. Some mother is waiting for some good news from her daughter in that mail. Some business person is waiting on a contract in that mail. And so when God gives you a dream, there's nobody anywhere and everybody and somebody somewhere needs to understand that when God gives you a dream, there is somebody who needs to hear what God has to say. And so if you have a dream, don't hold on to it, herald it. If you've got a dream, don't complain about it, proclaim it. If you've got a dream, don't just visualize it, but verbalize it. And if you keep saying it, somebody somewhere may want to help you achieve it, but it won't happen until you say it. And so you've got to have the receptivity to see it. You've got to have the courage to say it. And lastly, you've got to have the persistence to pursue it. You've got to have the persistence to pursue it. Now in this world, we have a lot of what I like to call drawing board dreamers. Yeah, in this world we have what I like to call drawing board dreamers. In other words, they have great dreams, they have great ideas, they have great aspirations, but they never get their dreams off the drawing board. And many dreams have died on the drawing board because we're trying to perfect it before we start it. But what we need to understand is that your dream will never be perfect. And so since your dream will never be perfect, go ahead and start it, because it will never be anything until you pursue it. Now, can I tell you what made Dr. King such a great civil rights leader? Can I tell you what made Dr. King such a great dreamer? Can I tell you what separated Dr. King from everybody else? What made Dr. King so special was the fact, not just that he had a dream, but what separated Dr. King from everybody else was the fact that in the midst of Jim Crow, in the midst of segregation, in the midst of inequality, in the midst of inequity, in the midst of violent racism, in the midst of sharecropping, not only did Dr. King have a dream, but he had the courage and he had the faith and he had the nerve to pursue that dream, because he believed that one day his dream was going to come to pass. See, Dr. King, for Dr. King, the American dream was not just meant for some, but for Dr. King, the American dream was an opportunity to expand experience a situation that was intended for everybody. And so if God has given you a dream today, God wants you not only to see it, God not only wants you to say it, but God wants you to pursue it. And when you pursue your dream, you've got to learn to trust what God said, even when what he said doesn't match what you see. You've got to learn to pursue God's dream even when what you see doesn't match what God said. Because if what you see doesn't match what God said, what you see isn't going to be the last thing you're going to see, because God will not stop until you get to the place where what you see matches what God said. Because what God said will come to pass. I know things may not look right now, but if God gave you a dream, it will come to pass. I know the Congress and Senate are acting in a dysfunctional way right now, but if God gave you a dream, it will come to pass. I know each week we see and hear a crazier tweet than we saw and read last week, but if God gave you a dream, it will come to pass. I know there continues to be economic disparity in our country, but if God gave you a dream, it will come to pass. I know that racism is still alive and well in this country, but if God gave you a dream, it will come to pass. I know that this country is more divided now than it's ever been before, but if God gave you a dream, it will come to pass. I know that the road is rough and the going is going to get tough and the hills are hard to climb, but if God gave you a dream, it will come to pass. I know the odds may seem like they're stacked against you, but if God gave you a dream, it will come to pass. I know that there are times when your back seems like it's against the wall and you don't know what to do and you don't know what to say and you don't know where to go, but if God gave you a dream, it will come to pass. And so whatever you're dreaming for, whatever you're waiting for, whatever you're hoping for, whatever you're praying for, don't throw in the towel, don't throw your hands in the air, don't give up on God, don't give up on your dream, but keep on seeing it, keep on saying it, keep on pursuing it, because with God on your side, you'll be able to say like Dr. King said, we shall overcome, we shall overcome, we shall overcome someday. Is there anybody here who believes in their heart that deep in my heart, I do believe that we shall overcome someday?
We can all go home now. Wow, that was powerful. That was absolutely powerful. One more round of applause. Absolutely powerful. Wow. When I listen to your address, Reverend Dr. Turner, I think of the scripture in Hebrew, for faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. Absolutely amazing. Thank you so much for that wonderful address. Now, we will have one more time the soprano Christina E. DeVaughn. If you have not read her bio, please avail yourself of that. Absolutely beautiful, soothing, voice. I need to record you so I can go to sleep. But so she has a master's in opera performance and has been singing at the Black Nativity play for 12 years. You'll hear her one more time. Let's give her a round of applause as she comes up.
Hello again. One of Dr. King's speeches, I've been to the mountaintop. He said, "I've seen the promised land. I may not get there with you, but I want you to know that we as a people will get to the promised land." This piece is entitled, "We Shall Behold Him." And we shall all behold the Lord when we reach the promised land, and we'll be able to commune with Dr. King again. Amen? The sky shall unfold, preparing his entrance. The stars shall applaud him with thunders of praise. The sweet light in his eyes shall enhance those awaiting. Then we shall behold him. Then face to face, we shall behold him. Yes, we shall behold him. Face to face in all of his glory.
That's a beautiful rendition of Sandy Patty's We Shall Behold Him. And it's been such a special treat to be up here and to MC this wonderful program. It really feels like a family event. This is absolutely a beautiful Martin Luther King breakfast. And as Reverend Dr. Turner said, we have to be available for each other. And the greatest investment you can make is in someone else. And so I stand here as a Haitian American, very proud Haitian American. Okay. I'm just so grateful to be here. Just want to thank you again, J. Anthony, I love you. Thank you for investing in me 20 years ago and not forgetting me. Thank you to so many who are here who've been available to me. The wonderful Kimberly Jones, attorney Kimberly Jones, who is the founder and CEO of Athena Legal Strategies. Wave, please. I know I'm embarrassing you. Dr. Spicer, oh my goodness, you've kept me through some very interesting moments. Thank you so much, and congratulations as mayor. Dr. Barbara Nobles Crawford, you are fierce, okay? Fierce. Thank you so much, and to my wonderful sister, Ruth Lewis, who is 1 of 10. We are 1 of 10. So thank you, Reverend Lloyd, again for this opportunity. When you were investing in me, you were investing in so many other people. Thank you so much, and we'll have Reverend Lloyd come up for closing remarks. Thank you so much for your graciousness.
Indeed, this is a proud moment. Jesse, we want to thank you. We are just so blessed by not just your leadership today, but how you have taken opportunities to expand on that and use that to advance and make contribution to the lives of so many people. And we are proud of you. No doubt about it. Thank you for coming this morning. Thank you for being present this morning. Thank you for showing up for duty this morning. I want to extend a thank you to the committee that has worked hard all year long to bring this breakfast together under the leadership of Ramel Herring. And I thank you as a committee. There she is right there. Thank you so much for your labor of love and bringing us together. If you will notice, this year we have given you a gift, and it is Where Do We Go From Here? Chaos or Community, by Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. His last work that he set down in Jamaica to think through, reflect on, and put to paper. We encourage you to read this. I know at Greater Framingham Community Church, we're going to have several opportunities for discussion groups around this book. It still has so much to say to inform us today in where we are. Thank you so much, Dr. Turner, for coming, being willing to brave the cold weather up north. But I thank your church and I thank your family for sharing you with us this weekend. Thank you for your words of inspiration. Thank you for putting in context where we are today and helping us to figure out that we do have a role to play and to maneuver through it all. Indeed, we are dreamers, and God has placed a dream in us. Blessings upon you. And indeed for Christina, our musician, thank you for your gifts. Thank you for your movement in song. We bless you for it. I can't say enough about Christina Blake. I'm going to tell you, I am indeed proud of our young people, and I am happy to say they are more like her. Amen. And I am so proud of her, not only for what she shall do, but what she is doing now. I'm sharing with you, I can't say it enough. On Saturday, we gathered over at Framingham State University, and I thank God for our university and their partnership with us, with over 200 young people. And that day on Saturday morning, we gathered there, and I thank God for all the partners that worked to bring our young people together, for them to come into a room and to, yes, think about who this guy named Dr. King was. Because indeed, for all those that were there, he lived before they were even thought of. I'm always energized when we spend time with our young people, that I'm mindful that they have more going on in their intuitive understanding of what's going on today than what we give them credit for. And certainly Saturday was no disappointment. As I listened to them, as they articulated the challenges and issues that they're facing and how they are maneuvering through it, came away from it with a feeling and understanding that indeed we live in difficult and rough times, but they understand that as well. And they bring to the table some creativity and imagination, and we are in good hands. They are dreaming as well. And indeed, I celebrate our young people and our children, and you ought to too. Normally in a moment like this, as in times past, I have invited our young people to come forward and a chance for you to see them. And then yet this year differently. As it has been said and alluded to, and in fact, each day you can't live these days without being reminded that we are in very difficult days that we live in. Mindful that indeed our lives seem to be up for grabs, and every day we face new and daunting challenges that we didn't even see where it was going to come from. Been thinking about that and reminded of the words of James Russell Lowell, back in his writing in 1844, that truth forever on the scaffold, wrong forever on the throne, yet that scaffold sways the future, and behind the dim unknown standeth God within the shadow, keeping watch above his own. And then the words of Dr. King, even from the book that we've given you today. There comes a time when silence is betrayal. Our lives begin to end the day we become silent about the things that matter. In the end, we will remember not the words of our enemies, but the silence of our friends. Only in darkness can you see the stars. And then from Elie Wiesel, we must always take sides. Neutrality helps the oppressor, never the victim. Silence encourages the tormentor, never the tormented. Sometimes we must interfere. When human lives are endangered, when human dignity is in jeopardy, when national borders and sensitivities become irrelevant, and whenever men or women are persecuted because of their race, religion, or political views, that place must, at that moment, become the center of our universe. This morning, I would encourage you that this is the center of our universe. Right here, Mayor Spicer, Framingham. Right here, Mass Bay Community College, Framingham State. Right here, Framingham, Metro West. Right here where you live, where you work, where you communicate, where you shop, this is the center of our universe. And in the center of our universe, you've got to take a stand. There is no room for neutrality. And we have many folk in this room who are veterans of saying, I will not be silent. I will stand up. I do have a dream, and I will pursue that dream. So today, it's not just that our young people, who no doubt about it, need our direction, but it's also for us who have traveled on this journey, and maybe for a moment we slipped up, got comfortable, thought progress had been made so much that we could somehow pass the torch and things will go on. And if we're in the room, in that place, I want to tell you, this is the center of your universe. And that is a fallacy. And it cannot be our dream. So today, if your feet are tired, as Grandma would say, I'm tired of being tired. Today, I'm going to tell you that God can speak into your life, give you a voice, empower you to stand, that you might dream. And we've got to do it together. And our voice has got to be heard. So this morning, I want you to stand at your tables. We want to take a moment in silent reflection and prayer, that in the silence of this moment, we remember 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. We remember the District of Columbia. We remember these United States. And remember that there is a God who standeth behind the dim unknown. Let's take a moment in silence, believing God will do something. Now, from that silence, as we go from this place, know full well that you have done your moment of silence. Now you need to speak into the issue. Your voice needs to be heard, and be heard every day. Your voice with the voice of the person who's standing around the table with you, and even with the voice of those who are not in this room today. Do not let the silence go from this place that somehow communicates that we are okay with what is okay. But lend your voice, whether you are young and to our teenagers and children, or whether you are veterans on this here traveling mercy. Our voice must be heard. And hallelujah, as we say at GFCC this year, hallelujah. If your voice is heard, I know a God this morning. I said, I know a God this morning who hears the cries of his people. And he not only will act, but he will work through you that you might act. Where you are and what is going on. So together as we close in singing, We Shall Overcome Together, may that be our commitment, that in overcoming, it begins with our voice, and we shall overcome. We shall overcome. We shall overcome. We shall overcome. We'll walk hand in hand We'll walk hand in hand. We'll walk hand in hand. Oh, deep in my heart, we'll walk hand in hand. And God is on our side. Is on our side. God is on our side. God is on our side. Through God is on our side. Go from this place enjoying and celebrating, but also dreaming. Happy MLK Day to you. Thank you for coming.